What's happening, everybody? It's your boy Gerald Moore Jr., founder of Ohio Cannabis Report, back with another episode, updating you guys on August 20th, 2025, on some global cannabis news on Marijuana Moment. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, for supporting the channel. Thank you for all of our 75 subscribers. We really appreciate you guys for being early adopters. Thank you to everybody that supported us on Instagram and all the other platforms. I am trying to stay as consistent as possible until we build our team out to really be able to stay consistent on all the platforms. But be sure to follow us, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. We will probably start doing some more reviews on some products. I got a vape pen product that is an indica. I forget. I got it from Sapphire. Sapphire has been my go-to dispensary when I do go to the dispensary. Um, I do believe in supporting local businesses. I do believe in supporting businesses that support community, and Sapphire has been one of those. Um, Dispensaries. They're not a part of OCAN, so they kind of do their own thing. But every time I go in there, man, it's a good vibe. Very good customer service, very quick order process and pickup. They got enough cash registers and ATMs for you to get your money. And they always have some great deals. I mean, usually they have 30% off, 20% off deals. So I always get some pretty good deals when I go to Sapphire. Plus, it's right around the corner from the crib, so I could literally walk there if I wanted to. So for me, um, being somebody that's been in the program for 6 years now since medical, you know, this is what Obviously, it's a lot closer to what I am looking for when it comes to the cannabis industry. Also, just a heads up, you may hear some banging and some noise. I'm getting my HVAC done at my house, so. Um, this won't be a long episode, but I just wanted to come on early this morning, get up some content for you guys to check out. Also, shout out to everybody in the Ohio cannabis community, all of the advocates, activists, legacy growers, folks on the legacy market, cannabis patients, consumers, those that, just do it, right, and don't really think twice about it. One of my goals and reasons for creating Ohio Cannabis Report, as you can see scrolling on the bottom of the screen, was to end the stigma and to just have normalized conversation, right? Just be a normal person, right? I'm a former athlete. I'm a husband. I'm a father, entrepreneur, nonprofit business leader. And so at the end of the day, I'm somebody that tried out for the NFL. And so a lot of times in the general public, there's just assumption that people that consume cannabis aren't productive citizens or they can't function in a certain type of way, right? They can't do business. They can't operate machinery because one, cannabis is a Schedule One drug, right? So a lot of people's perceptions of what cannabis truly is and what it really is completely off base. But it requires those that consume it and have consumed it and understand that, hey, these are all kind of propaganda and lies and embellishments. It's not saying that some people don't get super high. It's not saying that some edibles aren't stronger than others. It's not saying that if you haven't consumed cannabis consistently, that the first time you consume it, you might need to try a lower dose, right? Um, but I'm somebody that's been consuming for 15 plus years at this point. I use cannabis medicinally and recreationally, but majority medicinally. Cannabis helps me in a lot of different ways, a myriad of ways, when it comes to my physical health, my spiritual health, my mental health. I'm somebody that comes from poverty, working class in America, in New York. I was born out of wedlock to teenage parents in New York. Basically taken away from my biological mom growing up. So again, PTSD, trauma. I lost my grandmother who raised me my first few years of life. Trauma, PTSD, grief. Football. Football is a very contact sport, tons of physical injuries, and then again, mental. And then you have the spiritual side of things, obviously, the war on drugs, just being a black man in America, having to exist and move in private school and PWI. Um, those things aren't easy. per se. And so again, cannabis is something that has helped me balance my life in a way that is purposeful while also not going towards other drugs like alcohol or pills or other stronger drugs that oftentimes folks go to. I believe cannabis is a very natural and holistic drug or a medicine, and so I believe in that aspect of the plant. And that's why I'm so vocal about it. That's why I started Ohio Cannabis Report. That's why I started Athletes in Cannabis. That's why I became a published author. That's why I started advocating at the State House, and just doing more advocacy work, using my voice, using my platform, using my experience. So, again, that's what it takes, right? It takes us having conversations, it takes us being willing to come out of the closet in this space and say, hey, you know what I mean? I support this plant. You know what I mean? This plant has done nothing but good things for me, outside of obviously the destruction that has we've seen, with some of the policies and what it's done to certain communities. So, with all that being said, I'm going to share my screen here with you. So this is Marijuana Moment. It's one of my favorite resources. Marijuana Moment's always pretty up to date. Shout out to the editor. I've been quoted on here, I think once or twice, and so definitely one of the biggest and most consistent marijuana platforms out here. So the first headline: Using cannabis seeds during the beer brewing process enhances the nutritional value, study shows. That's pretty interesting. We need to debunk marijuana rescheduling myths as Trump weighs action. That's an op-ed that's true. Cannabis seed oil has superior effectiveness in healing wounds compared to conventional antibiotics, study shows. Anti-marijuana groups narc on DC dispensaries in letter to Trump saying they're too close to schools. DEA advances psilocybin rescheduling petition to federal health officials following years of long legal challenges. Texas Senate again votes to ban THC hemp products despite governor's push for regulations. Trump administration has deported more than 600 people for marijuana so far this year. Supreme Court gives marijuana companies more time to file petition in case challenging federal prohibition. Delaware governor seeks marijuana regulation advice from Colorado counterpart as state's legal market launches. Texas crime labs say they don't have enough resources to test hemp products for THC as lawmakers consider ban. More young adults are opting for cannabis drinks over alcohol at after work happy hours, polls show. Psilocybin can maximize recovery from traumatic brain injury, scientific review concludes. Medical marijuana significantly decreases use of opioids by chronic pain patients, new study finds. That's big. Again, like I was talking about, a lot of people consume cannabis for medicinal purposes, even if they don't know that they're doing it. A lot of people don't know that they're depressed, that they're anxious, just putting the words to it, right? Like they have this feeling, but they don't know what that feeling is. They're depressed, they're dealing with PTSD. Not everybody can afford healthcare, not everybody can afford therapy, not everybody's in a village or a community that has access to this information. South by Southwest is taking votes on dozens of marijuana and psilocybin panel proposals for 2026 festival. Marijuana is a gateway drug to growing tomatoes, polls suggest. Slightly stupid light cannabis joint with laser at Texas concert as lawmakers debate hemp ban. No, Virgin Atlantic is not offering cannabis-infused THC sodas on its flights, company clarifies. Massachusetts marks new marijuana milestone with adult use sales topping 8 billion since market launch. So yeah, those are some great headlines. So again, shout out on a moment. always coming through with some great content. Let me see if there's any new cannabis news come out of Columbus. Ohio marijuana poisoning spikes as cannabis Delta 8 become more available. Cases of children 12 and under exposed to cannabis in Ohio increased by 52% in 2024, primarily involving edibles. This rise coincides with increased cannabis availability nationwide and Ohio's legalization of recreational marijuana in 2023. Child-resistant packaging is required for licensed dispensaries, but not stores selling Delta 8 and other gray market cannabis products. Experts advise parents to store cannabis products securely and avoid consuming edibles in front of your children. Again, parents, like, you have to be responsible. Like, that's, I mean, you can't blame everybody in the community for people, you know. Like, I'm a parent, you know what I mean? My kids have never gotten into my edibles, you know what I mean, or any of my cannabis. And I talk to my kids about cannabis as well, so they understand that this is something that you don't touch, right? This is something, if you do see it, this is daddy's medicine. You know what I mean? This is what it is. Daddy deals with pain, daddy deals with XYZ. Why do you deal with that, daddy? Well, daddy played football. Well, why do you deal with stress, anxiety? Because life can get tough sometimes. And when your life, you get scared or you get nervous or things are a lot. So, daddy, we do our breathing exercises, we exercise, or walk, if we stretch. But what also helps daddy is his cannabis, because the cannabis helps physical pain. It also helps in my brain. It helps slow things down. So again, conversation, communication, also why we started Ohio Cannabis Report, is just to normalize having these conversations. Like, we shouldn't be scared to talk about weed or cannabis in front of our children, but then be behind the closed doors, like when the kids ain't looking, like, because the kids know, bro. Like, kids aren't stupid, and like, we were all kids once. Like, I knew what was going on, even though I stayed in a child's place. I seen what was going on. Kids see, they hear, they're very aware. Their antennas are up. So if you don't tell them, they're gonna learn in school. They're gonna try it in school, and that's where the problems come. And then it's like, well, why didn't you just come to me? Well, you ain't come to them. You, you honest with them. You weren't open with them, so you can't expect. And that's where a lot of parents get lost. It's like, well, I'm not my child's friend. That doesn't mean you can't have open lines of communication. Like, if your child doesn't feel comfortable coming to you having conversations about everything, that's a problem. And you expect to be a good parent? Like, that's crazy. When voters approved issue 2 and sales began last, Ohio joined the growing list of states allowed to buy and use marijuana recreationally. Since then, the Buckeye State has a new industry, now without some growings. It's been said Sage Grant, Director of Operations for Amplified Dispensaries, which has several locations in Northeast Ohio. He said Ohio's recreational sales actually outpaced Michigan's initial rollout. His industry is this industry is still facing many challenges, particularly the surge of unregulated Delta 8 THC products sold at stations and vape shops, pulling customers away from Ohio's dispensaries. That's why they're mad and they're losing customers. But again, they are the problem. You know what I mean? If the industry itself, the people who are OCAN and these leading companies would open the industry, people would be more likely to go to the dispensary. But again, you can't advertise the Ohio dispensary. They're not on social media like that. They're not on the internet like that. And then they don't have no billboards. And then they're not really doing any events or education. They're not doing any fairs, panel discussions. All community members are doing the panel discussions and shit like that. By the way, commercial break. The Ohio Cannabis Town Hall, September 6th at 3:30 at the Columbus Downtown Metropolitan Library. be there, be square. So we look to have a good panel. Emily from Benelieve, she's their policy and lobbyist person. Um, who else we're gonna have? Potential to have Dr. Craig from Central State, who is over their hemp program. Um, trying to see who else. Anthony Riley put on. We're gonna have somebody from Cincinnati doing harm reduction. Tim Johnson, Cannabis Safety First, also cannabis lobbyist at the State House. So it looks like a panel of folks, different rounds. And again, this is just conversations, getting where people are. So again, when fall comes and legislators get back in session, we can have a strategy, a strategic plan to combat some of these narratives that we know there's going to come out. Where they say cannabis is unsafe, we need stricter rules and laws around it. Um, because they let summer go, and they've been watching. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's a couple of meetings. Got invited to a small group meeting today that I'm not going to be able to attend in person because my son has a doctor's appointment. But some folks in the cannabis community are having an event today, an educational community event. Um, so yeah.
Could you try again?
So yeah, I mean, I think it's important, start where you are. If it's a group of friends, don't just smoke weed. Talk about it. Talk about the laws. Talk about the policies. Talk about growing, creating a co-op, educating your community, educating these seniors, like our senior citizens, these boomers, dealing with all these pills, these ailments, all of these issues. Um, and they're the ones voting, they're the ones with a lot of money, and they need to be educated, right? Because their whole demographic was saying up. He said, "Well, how's recreational sale?" Blah, 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 they're kind of putting out product that they don't really know is, and people are attesting that to their dispensary experience, and it's kind of giving them a bit of confusion. Graham said. According to Ohio's Division of Cannabis Control, 100,000 pounds of marijuana flower was sold in the state since legal sales began. Meanwhile, medical sales dipped as officials say patients are choosing to avoid the bureaucracy of maintaining a card. The legislature can do what it wants, said Jonathan Eaton, the East Western Reserve University law professor, who weighed in as lawmakers are still debating on how to handle Delta 8, as well as possible changes to marijuana law Ohioans voted in. People who object to what the legislator does then would have to go back and get on the ballot a proposal to do away with what the legislator has done, or to change what the legislator has done. So it's a cumbersome process, he said. Ohio dispensaries have sold more than $702 million in non medical cannabis as of August 2nd, according to the latest sales update from Ohio, the Cannabis Division. When non medical sales began in Ohio on August 6, 2024, there were 98 dispensaries across the state who had a certificate of operation to operate as a dual use dispensary cannabis to both medical and non customers. As of Monday, there are 162 dispensaries in the state. Uh, for Jordan. So yeah, man, it's obviously a lot going on in the state. Again, let us know what you think. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, your thoughts. Um, and yeah, we'll keep it up. We'll keep posting, keep sharing the content as long as you guys keep supporting. Please support. Peace.